Hi Cyber Class, it's Professor Opterbeck. Welcome to the beginning of the Spring 2023 semester and to Cybersecurity Law and Policy 2. And I just wanted to make a short video to introduce you a little bit to the syllabus and to the flow of the class and to the materials for our first week. So as you know, this is a hybrid class. We meet asynchronously online throughout the semester. And then we have 3 summit meetings on Saturday afternoons, which are in person and which are required for everyone to attend. And most of the weeks when we meet online, the week will start on Sunday. There will be materials online as well as in the syllabus, reading materials that are mostly linked for you. They're materials that I curate for you for this class, with one exception, which is something new that I'm doing this semester, which is that I'm going to ask you to get a book that's put out by the International Association of Privacy Professionals, the IAPP. And that book is the IAP's Privacy Program Management Textbook. And it's the 3rd edition, 2022. You can get either a print copy or a digital copy. It doesn't matter for our purposes. You need to order it directly from the IAPP, and I'll be sending you links that you can order it from the IAPP. If you're an IAPP member, there's a little bit of a discount. I encourage you to become IAPP members, but you don't have to. This book, by the way, is the book that the IAPP uses for its Certified Information Privacy Manager exam, CIPM exam. We will be offering, the law school, the Gibbons Institute and Institute for Privacy Protection will be offering a boot camp training on the CIPM exam later in the spring. As you might know, we offer boot camps in the CIP US exam and the CIP E exam. The CIP E exam boot camp is coming up in February. You don't need to take any of those boot camps. For this class, you can if you want to, but I do want you to know that some of the material on the CIP M I'm adding to this class because I think it's going to be really useful to us as we work through the class. So a little bit about the structure of the class. If you took Cyber 1 last year or last semester, you know that it focused a lot on, Cyber 1 focused a lot on kind of the background of the internet, the background of internet law, and certain aspects of computer crime law, mostly domestic US computer crime law, dealing with economic crimes, and then also dealing with personal crimes, stalking, harassment, things like that. So in the first part of Cyber 2, and if you didn't take Cyber 1, that's okay. The first part of Cyber 2, we focus on national security issues. So we're going to spend a number of weeks, and we'll kick off with this upcoming week talking about cyber as a domain of national security, and in particular how the US military is engaging with cyber as a domain and some of the international issues that arise from that. And then we'll be looking at the law of war in the US, the international law of war, and cyber conflict, which is becoming increasingly important. And then we'll turn to cyber surveillance and civil liberties. So we'll be looking in the US at 4th and 5th Amendment issues around cybersecurity and encryption. And then we'll be looking at critical infrastructure in the US and US Homeland Security law and executive powers over cyberspace. And then we'll be looking at international human rights questions. We'll look first in what we could call the West, the Europe and the US and so on. And then we'll look outside the West. Now, if you took Cyber 1 last semester, we touched on some of this in Cyber 1. So for example, when we get to this in February, you'll see the EU protocol on xenophobic material and so on that we looked at a bit in Cyber 1, but we're going to expand this in a couple of ways. One is we're going to connect it to privacy, and so we'll be looking at the US Privacy Shield and the Schrems 2 case and the responses to Schrems 2 and the possible Schrems 3 case, but we'll actually read Schrems 2. And then internationally, we'll be looking at countries outside the West. So countries like Iran and so on, and how they use cyberspace as a as a means of social control. So we do all those kinds of things, and then about midway through the semester, we shift more towards a kind of skills and compliance part of the course. And the skills and compliance that we're looking at are primarily from the private citizen who is being affected by government action, and then from the private sector and how the private sector needs to respond to these issues, both in their own interest, economic interest, their regulatory requirements, and their cooperation to whatever degree. There is some with national security issues. So we look at legal process, and then we're going to look at some network security and cybersecurity and privacy compliance things. Now, don't get put off by this. If you're a computer person, great. If you're not a computer person, that's fine. You don't need to be a computer person to follow these parts of the class. You will need to pick up a bit of lingo and some ideas, and those are things you're going to have to do in practice anyway. But none of this is highly technological. And it's at this point that we're going to start to look at the materials in the IAPP book as well. And as we do this, you know, the flow of the course in the asynchronous online parts of the course, as you go through the week, there are discussion prompts and you participate in a discussion board. In the first part of the semester, those are kind of legal issues, policy issues, and so on. As we get into the second part of the semester, some of those will be legal and policy issues, but some of them will be compliance things, and some of them will be kind of hands-on things. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to look at, for example, a privacy policy, or to look at a data privacy impact assessment, and to see what those kinds of things look like. And that latter part of the course also connects with the skills component of the course. Now here I need to just step back in the syllabus for a second, because some of you are taking this course as a non-AWR and some of you are taking it as an AWR. So the final requirements are going to differ for those two groups of students. Obviously, if you're taking it as an AWR, you're going to need to produce your AWR paper. If you're taking it as a non-AWR, then your final summative assessments are going to be a take-home exam and a skills project. And the skills project is going to involve some presentations and participation in some exercises at some of our summit meetings, and then a final PowerPoint presentation that you're going to put together. You won't have to present it, but you'll put it together, and I'll look at it to the board of directors of a fictional company on cyber and privacy compliance issues. As we go through that second part of the semester, we'll be building up a factual scenario that will feature into the presentation you're going to make. So when we do these privacy impact assessments and things like this during the semester, they'll end up getting built into your final work product. At our final summit on April 15th, we'll be doing a tabletop exercise. And this is a kind of exercise that companies do to prepare themselves for cyber incident response. And in that exercise, both AWR and non-AWR students will have roles to play in this fictional company. Those of you who are non-AWR doing this PowerPoint presentation, you will use the information gathered during that tabletop as kind of the final piece of data for your project. Trust me, all of this will be clear as you read through the syllabus and as we go through the semester. It's actually, I've done this for a number of years now, and it's fun, and it's the kind of thing that practitioners do in the real world. For those of you who are taking the class as an AWR, of course, you're going to have to do your paper. You still need to participate in the asynchronous parts of the class, so there's weekly quizzes, the weekly discussion board, and that will include doing the hands-on exercises we do during the week, but of course you won't be doing that final presentation to the board. So if you are doing the AWR class, please pay attention to Appendix A of the syllabus, which lists a number of specific requirements to the AWR, in addition to the law school's general AWR requirements. In particular, please note the dates by which I need various things completed. Now on this list, the only thing that is going to be graded is the final paper. However, these other things need to be completed in a timely fashion for me to look at and grade your final paper. And really all these things are set up to help you complete the AWR. And AWR is a big project, and this kind of thing keeps you on track, and it helps me give you feedback along the way. So first deadline will be January 30th, 2023, at which you need to give me an initial topic approval. Initial means initial. We can change the topic. You might have an idea that doesn't quite work. I'm happy to talk with you beforehand to narrow down ideas. Maybe you have an idea already about something you want to do, but take a look at the syllabus, get a feel for the flow of the class. That will give you some thoughts. By March 3rd, we're going to need an outline to be done. That gives you plenty of time to work on what should be a pretty decent outline. And again, the idea is so that I can kind of go through this and give you some thoughts. At the summit number 2 on March 18th, a good part of that summit is going to be taken up with presentations by those of you doing the AWR papers. You have about 20 minutes, do some kind of PowerPoint or something like that. It's meant to be, here's some work in progress. It's really a workshop, and it gives the rest of us in the class, including the non-AWR students, the opportunity to learn from you and also the opportunity to give you some feedback. A preliminary draft by April 14th that, again, keeps you writing. It gives me time to give you some feedback, and then your final paper will be due by May 7th. I will be setting up drop boxes in Blackboard that you will use to submit those materials. So let's take a look quickly at the Blackboard site and the materials for week 1. You will see on the Blackboard site that each week the week will be listed, and if you click on that, the reading material, it's generally going to be the material that's in the syllabus, although from time to time I will tweak things if there's something interesting that I found or that's come up in the news, or that I want to supplement. And so there'll be links to all of the reading materials except for the IAPP book, which comes later in the semester. The schedule will be there, and then there will be the videos. Now the videos are basically the lectures for the week. Sometimes it will be me kind of lecturing like this to a screen or to a PowerPoint. Sometimes, as in this week, it will be external videos that are giving us some background on the things that we want to look at each week. And then the discussion board will be linked, and you'll be able to contribute to the discussion board, and then by the end of the week, the quiz will be posted. I want you also to please take a look at the discussion board, and there is presently a little place for you to introduce yourself. Now I know many, if not most of you from other classes or other things, but some of you I don't know, and some of you might not know each other. So just take a moment, do a really brief video introducing yourself, explaining why you're taking this course, even if it's just because it fits your schedule, and post that, and that'll get us off to a good start in our interactions with each other online before our first summit. As always, if you have any questions, shoot me an email. I'm always happy to connect and to talk with anybody who has questions about the class or about cybersecurity or privacy law or practice, or anything else in the law for that matter. Hope you have a great week, and I'll see you online.